So hey y'all, I'm back with another video. So tonight's video is yet again another Chioma Chats video podcast edition. So by the title, we're going to be doing another compilation video. We're only doing 2 stories tonight, but you know I've been gone, so I've been trying to get out all the trendy stuff. And then like I said before, I'll be back on camera to do a long video about all of the topics that I missed while I was on my break. So on the docket tonight, we have Nigerian Afrobeat superstar Burna Boy expressing comments about how growing up, him being African, and I'm going to insinuate also being a dark-skinned man, was seen as ugly, and how back in the day dark skin wasn't popping, and now there is this across-the-board interest of darker-skinned men, and I would even say African men in particular. So this is interesting. I'm also going to touch on Terrell Owens speaking about how he gravitated towards not dating black women due to black women not finding him attractive during his adolescence. And then our second story on the docket is everyone's favorite hood ghetto princess, Sessy REDD, having her private video leaked onto the internet, and just the controversy and conversation around it. The amount of people that were messaging me and writing me on Twitter and Instagram saying, Chioma, did you see this? When I woke up this morning, I was so shocked. And shout out to y'all that wrote me. I saw your messages and I was just as astonished, but I do think it's a lesson to be learned and something to discuss about how she's in this predicament as of now. So we only have 2 stories on the docket, so go ahead and leave me a comment about either one of them and I will try to read all of y'all's comments. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So starting off, the biggest story that's trending today and maybe the next few days is Sessy REDD's private tape leaking onto the internet. And I'm not gonna lie, the tape is not only very much a thing, but it is very much her. Before I even say anything, ladies, and gentlemen, but in this case, ladies, these tattoos are very incriminating. You cannot deny tattoos, and she has so many of them that even if her face wasn't in the video, even though it definitely was, we could have known it was her. So in the middle of the night, this private video gets posted onto her Instagram story, and the video was almost 1 minute long, and it's taken from the point of view of the man in the video. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it just really wasn't anything to rave about. From the sound of the moaning to the male spitting in her you know what, I hate that. Don't do that to me, because I think that's just nasty. I feel like there's a lot of men who just don't know how to get it going for women, and they think that's the solution. Like, no, because no. But I'm not gonna speak too much on that. And then just the vulgarity of the tape itself, and honestly, I think a lot of people were very disappointed because somebody who leads with such overt content about her body and her sexual endeavors and all of that, let's be real, the tape did not live up to anything that she says. Everybody was looking for the poom poom to be pink and the bum bum hole to be brown, and it really wasn't. But that notwithstanding, all jokes aside, this is very disappointing. It's disappointing that somebody felt that it was okay to expose her and to create this type of negative news around her, especially when she's at the height of her career right now. I mean, I'm not going to celebrate someone being exploited in this way, whether they did it intentionally themselves or whether somebody else did it to them. Now, the debate stands as, did she leak this herself and then try to hide her hands and play victim, saying that she would never do anything like this? Or was it in fact whoever she was with who leaked this? That is completely up to everyone to debate. Let me know y'all's opinion on that. Did she leak it or was it leaked by someone else? Because it's just kind of hard to tell. Clearly she consented to being recorded because her face is in the video. She knows there's a cell phone. She's very aware of what's going on, and which I think is why people think that she may have done this. But I also feel like being that the video was recorded from the man's point of view and clearly he's recording it, it just seems like this was not her doing. Now, the second part of what I wanted to talk about in regards to this is the lesson to be learned here. I think people are very hypocritical about being recorded while getting it on with your partner. There's always people, especially women, who say stuff like, nobody should be recording you. This is why I don't let people record me, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine. However, I'm here to tell you, a lot of couples want to record themselves doing the nasty. And a lot of couples don't get exposed. A lot of women don't get exposed. A lot of women are in control of their videos and their content. So you don't avoid this by saying, why are you recording yourself doing this? You don't really avoid this, but you kind of do by praying and believing that you do have a trusting relationship with those who you are doing stuff like this with. The problem with Sessy is that she is still hanging around bums. She is still hanging around men who are not at her speed. She's still hanging around lowlifes from back home in her city. She's still hanging around those people. That's why you don't put people on a pedestal to boost them as if they are better than what they are, or that they've overcome something, when in reality, a lot of these people are just richer than what they are. They're not necessarily brighter. They don't necessarily have increased common sense. They don't necessarily have more self-confidence. No, the only thing that changes is that they got more famous and more money. So for those of you that like to say that she's authentic, she's being herself and so forth, she definitely is ghetto and hood and ratchet. I never negated that. Even in my last video from yesterday, people were telling me like, oh, I'm from St. Louis, or I've been following her for a long time and she's always been this way. I never said that I don't think she is inauthentically being hood or ghetto or whatever. I said that I think the raunchy aspect of her brand is definitely more forced than it is truly all her, because for someone to rap about this very sexy driven lifestyle and showmanship, that's not what the video showed. That video was very weak. Granted, it was like 40 seconds, but I feel like that's enough to gauge what we were seeing. And maybe it's not on her. I mean, the guy really wasn't doing anything. He was making it very, very lame. But like I said, it doesn't necessarily match what we would think, which is why I did say that I don't believe the full-blown raunchy aspect of her is 100% authentic. So I'm not debating her being a product of her environment. No, that is completely authentic. But if you listened and comprehended what I said, I was speaking about the raunchy aspect of her brand. That notwithstanding, the lesson is you gotta leave people where they're at when she starts to elevate, because now she's being shamed and being talked about in a negative light when she no longer really has to be among the same individuals from her old life. Like, she really needs to drop that stank, dank tank of lame clown tail naker that was recording her. And I almost have speculation to believe that this is the same person that posted a video of her sleeping a few weeks ago. They were laid up in the bed together. So I don't know what's going on, but she needs to get away from them. That's why I think that a lot of the stuff that's being portrayed by her is so low vibrational that it doesn't surprise me that she's around low vibrational people that would do something like this. But hey, I'm just a hater with a platform. Now, the last thing I want to talk about in regards to this was, will this hurt her career? That was another thing people were debating about. And I don't think it will all the way. I mean, nobody is surprised that someone who talks about basically taking pulsing piping pipe all day long is on a video taking pulsing piping pipe. And I think in 2023, there's really nothing that can cancel somebody. Now, I do see the argument that because the optics of the video didn't match what people imagined her to be in that light, it could be a clash of interest for certain listeners of her music, which may result in people no longer being as interested. I do think that's a possibility too. I mean, there were people saying that she has admitted to having STDs and that didn't cancel her. But the thing is with that, nobody can really physically see or judge that you have one. We only know because she told us. But when you put this very tangible physical video of her engaging in something that is synonymous with her brand and it doesn't live up to the expectations of the viewer, it is a clash of interest that can affect her fan base. So maybe, just maybe, I think what cancel culture is more or less call out culture, or better yet, let's place you on timeout culture, because nobody ever truly gets canceled. They just get dragged. And then because everyone has formed these parasocial relationships with these famous strangers, these celebrities and public figures will always have a group of people who still like them no matter what. And that is very scary, because at a certain point, if somebody does something completely asinine, they don't really deserve support. I don't mean Sessy Red in this instance, but just in general. But I don't think this is gonna hurt her career all the way. Also, we're in the era of the woman scorned. Women don't have to take accountability anymore. Women will call you every trigger word in the book. Women are leading all of these platforms and movements to speak out against anyone who comes for women, including myself, even though I don't always agree with women. So there's really nothing that's gonna cancel her. There's a lot of women that actually feel bad for her because it is messed up that she was exposed without her consent, according to her. And it's very embarrassing to have such a private and intimate video leaked onto the internet. I'll be real though, the conspiracy theorist in me is also thinking like it's very ironic that this happened, especially as she's been elevating so much. And I know a lot of people think that a lot of celebrities go through some type of humiliation to cascade to higher levels of success. And I do have a little bit of that ringing in my head, but I just don't know. All in all, this was very embarrassing. The tape was mid. I do feel bad for her, and I hope between her and other women, you gotta learn that not everyone has your best interest at heart. So before we move on to our second story, let's introduce today's video sponsor, Mekify.
How would I join? How do I get into this? How do I begin?
Okay, that's awesome. So first step would be to go into our website. It's www.mekify.com. You would have a space where you could put your name, and then you put your email address, and then you sign up.
They will also find a button to sign up with $149.
Right.
That is an exploratory fee. Once it's coming, they like what they see, we walk them through in business. And irrespective of where they are, it doesn't matter.
So you have 30 days to check things out, feel comfortable, trust the system, check the community out, check the business out. And then within the 30 days, if you're like, oh no, this is not what I want to do, you can go take your refund back. You can have your money back.
And we've had people test that to see are they going to refund me on that. They go test it and they, oh, they did pay me. Okay, Guys, I believe in you now, so let's go forward. It's funny, but we do have that.
So our second and last story is about Nigerian Afrobeat superstar Burna Boy, speaking about being young and being a black boy during a time where his look was undesirable. And I really wanted to touch on this because I have a lot to say, both in favor and not in favor. And I'm very happy that I get to have this conversation. Like, woohoo! So Burna released his album called I Told Them at the end of August, and pretty much it's another successful project. My favorite songs from the project happen to be Big 7, Taliban 2, and of course, City Boys. And I'm not gonna lie, I do like Sitting on Top of the World, but as big as it is, I just like the other 3 songs better. So at the beginning of his song City Boys, which samples Jeremiah's song B-Day Sex, there's a monologue from British rapper J Hus, basically saying that he used to call himself an ugly you, and now he calls himself a sexy you. You understand? So this is at the beginning of the song, and the song is a hit, and I think it did resonate for a lot of people because if you went through any type of glow up, you just know, like, if you know, you know, right? So while being interviewed, Burna was asked why he decided to include this, and this was his response.
Intro to City Boys is the audio from J Hus's Instagram stories.
I'm not even an ugly you. I'm a sexy you, you understand?
What made you go with this as the intro?
Because I feel like he was speaking for all of us, Black African boys. There was a time in life when we went popping, you had to be a light-skinned boy. Did you not have Chris Brown on your list?
I used to love that, man.
Let's be real. We went popping.
Yeah.
We were getting called all types of names. It is what it is, you know, because now...
Gal all over the globe.
J Hus called himself Mr. Ugly.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
But there was a reason for that.
Right.
That was the view of that society had of us. Mm-hmm. The whole narrative is changed.
Of course.
And it's like we're now looking in the mirror like,
Actually...
So the whole time, they were trying to finesse us. We've always known our worth. It's everyone else that didn't. And then someone keeps telling you something, even if you know it's not true.
Yeah.
It's like the fact that they keep telling you.
So let's be all the way real. Is he lying? No. I think there's so many ways that we can go about this, and overall, what he said was facts. When I looked at the comment section of the post, I saw a lot of Africans basically giving their testimony of what it's like to grow up African. And I think there's a tendency to feel as if Africans are trying to move the victimhood of what comes with being a person of color, and I don't think it's that. If we can all sit up here and say that there's a difference between being Black American, there's a difference between being African, there's a difference between being Caribbean or West Indian, then that means that we all have different experiences in some way, shape, or form. And I'll be real, growing up as a Nigerian, especially in America, being born and raised here, there's a certain experience that you have that does differ than Black Americans, but there's also experiences that are basically exactly the same across the board, just as being a Black person or even a person of color, but more specifically, a Black person. And I want people to understand that because there's always this quick notion to draw this line, and lines should be drawn, but I think across the diaspora, everybody should be honest and admit that there are so many more similarities than there are differences between all of us. If you stop the diaspora wars and just decide to actually be realistic and use your common sense and not speak from emotion and bias, you'll understand where the lines are drawn and where the lines do blur. So for this case, I can see the lines do draw, but the lines do blur as well. So where the lines draw is, like I said, there is a specific experience growing up African. There were a lot of people in the comments talking about how we used to be called African booty scratchers. People would come up to you and say, ah, wah, wah. I used to get that one a lot. People would just assume that you were poor. People would accuse you of having a smelly house. People would assume that you were smart, but not that smart because maybe your parents' English wasn't that good, or maybe your English wasn't that good. And even down to the look. Everybody associates Africans with being very dark-skinned, having bad upkeep of hygiene, and I guess for guys, I think a lot of African dads made their sons get very low haircuts. And that was like a telltale sign that you were African growing up. Like, let's be real. If you had a number one low cut, people just knew. And as much as I think where the lines do blur is that all Black people growing up were teased for aspects of being Black, I think everybody can admit that being African was like bottom barrel. Even if you are a Black person, i.e. Black American, that still wasn't as bad as being African. And that is just the God honest truth. And I don't like that people try to take away this expression of an experience because I don't care what anybody says. Being African growing up was the bottom barrel of being Black, at least in America. So I do agree with Burna when he speaks about how being an African boy, being a Black boy growing up, he wasn't desired. He used the example of Chris Brown posters being in every preteen and teenage girl's bedroom, which is true. I think the aspect of colorism did touch Black boys growing up, and then fast forward to present day, it's done like a complete 180 on them, where it works in the favor of dark-skinned Black men and their desire amongst many different races of women. And I would definitely say that African men, and I'll even say specifically Nigerian men, are very sought after these days amongst a lot of different women. There are people having Nigerian weddings who aren't even Nigerian. There are people wanting to get with Nigerian men just because the stereotype is that Nigerian men will marry you, but they might cheat. I mean, that is the stereotype, let's be real. So I do see the newfound appreciation that he's talking about. Now, let me talk about the other side of this. Honestly, dark-skinned men definitely got a lot of backlash growing up, but it was nothing compared to darker-skinned women. And I would say not even the double whammy or the triple whammy, but the quadruple whammy growing up was if you were 1 whammy, female, 2 whammy, dark skin, 3 whammy, voluptuous in any type of way, and 4 whammy, African. If all 4 of those things pertain to you, you were the butt of every joke. Even if you weren't African, but you looked African or you had African features, even Black kids would tease other Black kids who weren't African for having African-like features. Whether it was a certain hairline, whether it was a girl who had very short hair, whether it was someone being very dark-skinned, those Africanoid features were teased. And I feel like a lot of us women have grown up to talk about this. You know, I've done a lot of colorism videos, and it's just an expression of our experience. And I feel like the reason why we don't hear many Black men speaking about it openly is because it no longer really pertains to them. You can be as Black as my shadow as a man and still get any type of woman, but it just doesn't work that way for women. So when I see people like Burna Boy make these comments, and even Terrell Owens, who is a retired NFL player, making similar comments, I do agree, but I feel like at the same time, for you to have experienced that and now you're in the green zone of people liking you, do you now promote your melanated women the way how you've now been put on a pedestal in the latter years? You don't. And a lot of these men do not. I've never seen Burna Boy date a brown or darker skinned girl. Even the girls he's rumored to be with, they don't look like me. And I'm not a deep dark skin shade, but I'm definitely not light skinned either. So let's get into what retired NFL player Terrell Owens said.
My experiences with Black women growing up wasn't so good. When I started dating white girls, my first experience with white girls was when I went to college. I tried to date some Black girls when I was in college. They did not like me. I was skinny, I was strong. Right. I was teased from high school, even to college. I got teased for being dark skinned. Damn, so they tease you, cuz? Yeah. So there was a lot of self-esteem issues. Right. No, I'm being dead honest. So when I got my opportunity, when my first experience with a white girl, I'm like, okay, it wasn't bad, but that wasn't. I just totally gravitated to white girls after that. Right. That wasn't the situation. So again, my experiences with Black women growing up wasn't so good. So, but that still didn't deter me from still dating or pursuing Black girls. Right. So my thing now is, because I know there's the stigma, the stereotypical of athletes, you know, to go off and make money, this and that, and date the opposite color, opposite race. But for me now, where I am, it's not even about color. It's not even about race. For me, it's about somebody that I have some chemistry with, good energy, and I get a good vibe with. Right. That's where I am. Like I said, we all want somebody that's attractive. Right. You know what I mean? Aesthetics going to play a big part in it. Anybody that says, "Oh, well, I don't care what the person looks like," that's a lie. That's a lie. We all want somebody that we can roll over and wake up to. That, you know what I mean? That looks pleasing to the eye. Everybody's experiences have been different. For me, when I grew up, I was in my high school pretty much is 50. I don't know what percentage Black, white, but I lived in a Black neighborhood. So at the end of the day, I attempted to date Black girls. When I was younger, I wasn't as handsome as I am now. I didn't have this beautiful smile as I have now. Hit puberty. Right. I was a late bloomer. Yeah. And when I bloomed, boy, did I bloom.
So again, he's kind of saying something similar to Burna Boy. Terrell Owens speaks a little bit more in depth about how his first experiences with white women were when he got to college. I worked 4 years in Division I college sports, which is the top level. And I will say, just from personal experience, a lot of the Black athletes' first interaction with white women wanting them is when they got to college. I mean, he's pretty much an NFL legend. He obviously was very popular while in college, being that he was a big football star, which brought him a lot of attention. Now, Burna really didn't say that, hey, black girls didn't like me, so I date white girls. Terrell Owens did, so I'm gonna speak directly to him. Now, first, I think a lot of black men honestly are very validated in that experience, but I think the response to feeling that you were unliked by your own is where people have a problem. Because let's keep it all the way 100. It wasn't just the black girls that didn't like you. The mixed joins didn't like you, the white joins didn't like you, and definitely the Asian joins didn't like you. The white joins didn't want y'all nakers, they wanted Zach and Cody. So the problem with saying black girls didn't like me, so I went to white girls sounds like I'm gonna go where I'm accepted, even though those people didn't even accept you. So why do black girls catch the heat for this? Like, come on now. And I think black girls still accept black boys and did accept black boys, so black men do have to also be honest. Black women are the most race loyal people existing. Black women don't really stray that much away from black men. I'm not gonna say that we have the least amount of options, but if we're talking about general consensus, are all races of men checking for black women at this high astronomical number? Not really. Not that we're undesirable, but just saying. So I think that's why we see less outrage for black women dating outside their race versus black men dating outside their race. And it's because the reasoning behind a lot of it to me sounds like both black men and black women of a certain complexion at a certain time in history were very undesired. But as we went through puberty and grew up and became who we are, it's the black men that strayed a little bit more farther away from being race loyal versus black women. I mean, I don't really hear as many black women say, black men don't like me, they don't find me attractive, so I date white men. And I know they do, but I'm just saying that a lot of black women deal with black men, and then they deal with another black man, and then they deal with another black man before they say, hey, I'm just gonna try something else. There were a lot of comments that said that we can't invalidate the experience of Terrell Owens, which I think is fair, but I did see some comments invalidating the experience of Africans growing up. And I know I said I don't like talking too much about diaspora wars, but I think it's worthwhile to talk about how the experience of growing up African gets invalidated a lot because of diaspora wars. Nobody's gonna discredit the hardship and the same cultural rejection that Black Americans also face growing up. But I do think that we are all old enough and smart enough to know that Africans have never had this positive connotation about their culture, about their looks, about their presence up until recently. And we all know that this is true. So just reading some of the comments in regards to Burna Boy's interview from Instagram, someone said, not one lie told. I'm glad the narrative has changed because African people are really beautiful. Another person said, remember when everyone thought African boys were ugly? But I think those infomercials played a huge part in that. Y'all remember those commercials with the white lady walking through the slums where there were ashy naked kids with flies around? The only person that looked decent was the white person. That's the narrative they put out for the longest time. I myself didn't know how well off and beautiful Africa is because they only portrayed the opposite. More mind control type-ish. I'm glad to see all the talent and beauty coming from the homeland. Blessings. And that's a great comment because white people definitely tainted the way how we all saw one another. Another commenter wrote, he's not wrong. I'm not African, but I remember a lot of first-gen African kids in school were teased about it if you knew about it. Someone else added, now, if only y'all could love dark women as much, which I definitely agree with her saying, because if you had that experience and you understand how uncomfortable and how much it did hurt your self-esteem, why are we now grown people and that same energy has been given to darker women yet and still? Like, I just have to say it. Next, someone else said, not just African boys, Africans in general. For a long time, it wasn't quote unquote cool to be African or be from Africa. You don't even look African was looked at as a compliment of some sort. First of all, there is no quote African look. We are made up of 54 countries full of thousands of different tribes, cultures, and languages, which can look super different from each other. Well done, Damini. Proud of you. Which, can you say that again? The whole you don't look African, I still get that to this day, and I'm like, that is part of the bias because people equate the African look to something completely one-sided and in a lot of cases, not cute. Like, let's just be real. But I'm glad the narrative has changed as well. So someone else made somewhat of an opposing comment by saying, LOL, Africans don't catch any more heat than the rest of us Black people for their looks or anything else. Not to mention the jokes they made about African Americans and how much better they supposedly are than us even while living in America, LOL. Now has Afrobeats become more of a thing to everyone? Yes. And I think that's due to the fact that they've incorporated more African American artists / styles. It's more digestible to those who couldn't vibe with it or relate at first. And I think it's fair to say that all sides of the diaspora definitely experience a dislike of their natural way of life and natural way of being. But again, I think we should be fair enough to say that Africans definitely caught it way harsher growing up because it wasn't just from white people. I'm gonna say this and a lot of you are gonna call me out for it, but I have to be honest. You can ask a lot of Africans who were born and raised in America or just grew up in America, and they'll tell you that most of the people that made fun of them for being African were Black people. It wasn't the white kids. And I'm not saying that the white kids didn't, because I think the white kids said what they wanted to say in private, it and never to your face for real. But across the board, most of my teasing and bullying for being African came straight from Black kids. And that doesn't take away from the same energy that was given to non-Africans, but I'm just saying that as a reality, that is very true for many Africans' experience. Me personally, knowing the culture of America, not solely Black America, but just Americans in general, Americans aren't that welcoming to immigrants and foreign concepts. America is a place where they take foreign concepts, Americanize it, and then feed it out as this inauthentic representation of diversity when, yeah, it's not diversity. So the reason why I say that is because as an American, whether you're Black, white, biracial, whether you're a natural born citizen or naturalized citizen, the mindset that Americans have of immigrants, whether you're Chinese, African, or from Yugoslavia, really isn't positive. There's aspects in which immigrants do get benefits and do get praise, but the overall approach to an immigrant in America is not necessarily a welcoming thing. So I don't want to go too deep, like I said, maybe on Patreon, but I respectfully challenge this idea of the unprovoked diaspora war on either side, because I don't think anybody comes to anybody's country and acts a fool or rude or turns their nose up at something or someone when they're coming to this country thinking very highly of it, trying to get opportunities to do better for their life and their people back home. But every immigrant has a different reason to coming to the US or anywhere else, but in general, that's usually what the case is. Now, there was one last comment that I wanted to read that said, "They tricked us all, men and women, and literally pinned us against each other. Watching Disney growing up, if there was a Black boy, he was nerdy or dumb, but never portrayed as cute. The same with the Black girl characters. We grew up taught to view light as better. We have to forgive each other and continue to discover what real beauty looks like, Black in all shades." And this really is the one. I think colonization and racism did a number on the diaspora where those of us who are closer to a certain spectrum of skin shade and those of us who are considered ethnic, so Africans, Haitians, you name it, were looked at as undesired or not cool or whatever when we were younger. It took a lot of work and a lot of realization amongst all Black people to realize that real beauty exists in what we possess naturally. This is why I hate the diaspora war, because like I said, there are lines to be drawn amongst everyone, but there's so many lines that blur, and a lot of things that we challenge and debate about are so similar that people just need to be honest about everything. I think it's interesting to see this conversation from the perspective of a man, and I do believe and validate their experiences, but I think it also adds validity to a lot of these colorism conversations that Black women have been having for years. And it's interesting how a lot of Black women have spoken about colorism, have been gaslit to feel as though we're just ugly or we're just undesired or we're just bitter or jealous of other types of women when Black men are telling us that they've gone through the same thing growing up. How ironic. So that is it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know your commentary on my commentary down below. What do you think? What do you know? Let me know. Be sure to check out our sponsor Mekify through the pinned comment down below. If you want any more information, you can reach out to their phone number, you can call them or text them with any questions. They are ready to help. I will be previewing a freestyle that I recorded in the studio a few months ago, so let me know what y'all think at the end of this video. And lastly, don't forget to follow me on all of my social media networks, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye, y'all. Queen, Chioma, Queen, Chioma. It's all about me, don't care about you. Yeah, I'm a 10 like 5 times 2. Whatever I say, y'all gotta do on who, on you, on who, on you, on. All hail the queen, QC, yeah, she is risen. Presence is a gift, so I come with the ribbon. Internet told me stop rapping, I ain't listen to them. No, I really got more bars than the prison system. Right, you want beef, step into the kitchen, murder flows, you could suspect. I am not the victim, D queen, D's on that bitch like we with the Pistons. Red cherry, red bottoms, I know how to pick them. Always got a secret plan, I don't do the fighting. Shorty is a secret fan, yeah, she ghost riding. Brown skin beauty with a booty, showtime. Go off on a tangent, I don't need a cosign. 12 baddies with me, they done cheap about a dozen. Hot yell straight up out the microwave oven. Gotta bring the chicken man before you get the stuffing. In this beat going crazy, snapping on percussion. Chioma at the top, I'm the #1 prospect. Beat from Lakia when she slid on Cosmic. Told them come here, boo, I'm trying to make you jaw slip. I got no pics, but I wanna see a pocket. Big glossy lips, turn them out like a faucet. Sweet chicken knees, so I put them in the cockpit. Cooking in the studio, call me Betty Crockett. Gingerbread baby running fast like Sonic. It's commendable, was a ceremony, but now it's a festival. New money now, so you gotta move a decimal. Presidential suite and it's looking all congressional. I'm so delectable. Pull your queen card, cause mine is a collectible. Better mind your business and stay off of my genitals. Probably make them high, cause my body's like an edible. Wait, let me stop, cause I'm trying to be professional. Damn. I know that's what y'all said when y'all heard that verse. Y'all was like, damn. Respectfully though. When you're Victoria Island, like a Gullah Gullah, sun on my melanin, working on my color bubble gum pink fit. Treat you out like Hubba Bubba, need my check Friday. I'm calling you a mother sucker. She naked me, baby, I'm so fine. I damn wine, be sweet like palm wine. Now on yekele, yeah, come say hi. I see so, baby, no be long time. Hold on. Let me give y'all a little bit more of that.
Waist beats thrown on my body, this ain't Mardi Gras. Roll the dice, moving peace, got him look, I'm sorry, nah. I'm a queen in Queens, flyer than LaGuardia. Few rap joints with bars, y'all not hard enough. Stop with the excuse that you're still just starting up. Battling my team and you don't want war with us. Sweet heat, on and beat, I'm sounding like a talking drum. Ghost rider, girlies, man, admit this where you got it from.